Hi, welcome to For the Culture Canada, the center point of art and entrepreneurship. Today I have a guest that I'm very, very excited about because I've actually known of him for quite a while, but this is the first time that I've actually got to sit down and have a conversation with him. This is episode 34. I am with somebody who has worked with lots of different people. You may have seen him actually sitting at the counter at the film factory, and you may have seen his work all over the place, working with people like Living Machines, Sunripe, Wesley Snipes even, and Rare Breed. I'm of course talking about Jordan Powers. Welcome to the show, man.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being a part of the show, man. How you been? How you feeling?
Good, man. I'm tired, but
yeah,
all of us out here are tired, I'm sure.
Yeah. Really busy. And you've had a pretty busy week, you were saying, right?
Yeah. Lots of stuff going on at the factory and then just personally with projects as well.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so before we get into all the other stuff that you've been up to, I want to get back into your past a little bit. So tell me, where were you from and how did you get into film in the first place?
Yeah, BC boy all my life. I grew up in Maple Ridge for the first half of my life, kind of like till age 12, and then we moved out here to Kelowna with the family, and then been here ever since.
Yeah, why Kelowna?
My dad grew up here, and my mom used to come on vacation out to the Okanagan, so it was just a natural move back, I guess.
Right, that makes sense. And did you like moving over here?
Not at first. Like grade 6, I was crying. I didn't want to like leave my friends and stuff like that. But looking back on it, I don't think my parents could have made a better decision. This place was great to grow up in. Yeah.
Do you miss Maple Ridge? Do you ever go back?
I go back, but I mean, if I'm being 100% honest, not really.
Why?
I don't know. It's like I don't really keep in touch with a lot of the people that I knew back there, other than like really close family friends. And then I don't know, man. Like we got the lakes, the mountains, the beauty.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And you have the film factory.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So what made you want to get into like film and like all that stuff in the first place? Where did you find your passion for it?
Yeah. Growing up, my dad moved out to Vancouver when he was like 19 to be a rock star drummer. And so he was in bands and stuff growing up. And so he always kind of put this creative drive into us, and then my mom was just an extremely hard worker, and so I definitely get both of those aspects from them. And so growing up, both my sister and I were really into like movies and music, and we just kind of always pursued it, but I guess I never really thought it was a job or anything like that.
Right.
So I actually ended up becoming a mechanic straight out of high school and worked at Anthony Subaru for a long time. And then my sister started killing it as an actress. And so she inspired me to be like, I don't want to be this greasy mechanic. And she's going to be this amazing movie star. So maybe I could help her out by being behind the camera.
Yeah. Okay. So she was more so on the forefront where you were on the back.
For sure. Yeah. And like I'm 3 years older than her.
Okay.
But like our relationship has always been like that. I'll see her do something and then I'm like, okay, now I got to do it better. Like she learned how to ride a bike before me and stupid things like that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And did you want to get into the acting forefront part of it first? Or were you always sort of a gearhead before that?
I mean, I always admired actors.
Yeah.
And I was the same dude that was also pretending I was a Jedi Knight until I was like 14. So, I mean, I definitely admired it, but I never really thought it was something I could do. Maybe it was like a lack of confidence. So I never really pursued it. Any acting opportunities I've gotten have just been completely organic, and I'm always grateful for them.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. And so then what made you, actually, how did you get involved with the film factory then? Did you do any film projects before that?
Like short films growing up with yet again, like with my sister acting in them and stuff. And then, I got involved with the film factory because my dad kind of knew them just through the local networking scene here in Kelowna. He's like a big networker and throws events and stuff like that. And so they were having the opening house at the film factory. And so my dad was like, if you want to be in the film industry, like you have to go and shake these people's hands. So it like forced me to go down there, and I was like the youngest person there. And so they kind of like took notice to that and took a liking to me. And then it came a point where they were building a shed in the back of the film factory. Yeah. And they knew I had a trades background. And so they were like, hey, maybe we can get Jordan to help us out with this shed. And I was a mechanic, not a carpenter. So it's the shittiest shed you'll ever come across. But regardless, they saw that I was willing to work hard and do some of the bottom of the totem pole jobs to begin with. So
right, that's fair, man. That's fair. What were the short films like that you used to make?
They were just like really cheesy and kind of lame short films. Both my sister and I are huge like Marvel fans, and so
Yeah.
we kind of try to go with that storyline of like the strong, powerful kind of protagonist, and
Right.
but you're young with a Sony Handycam, so and not a big visual effects budget by any means, so they're pretty cheesy, but
Hey, I mean, like, you got to start somewhere.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so when it came to the Film Factory and then moving on, how did you start getting involved with like all the locals and how everybody wants to be you seem to be like always there when people are making music videos and stuff. Like, what's up with that, man?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my dad was a big networker, so I always felt like networking and meeting people was super important. And so when I first got into like filmmaking as a professional, I felt like I was a bit behind since I
Right.
did those like 2 years automotive, which was just like a crazy thought of being young and scared. So
Yeah.
I felt like I was behind everybody else, and so I just did as much as I could to meet people. I went to the Okanagan Society of Independent Filmmakers website.
Yeah.
And I just went to every single person that called themselves a director, a cinematographer, a producer, etc. And I just emailed them saying, hey, my name's Jordan. I'm this, I'm that. I'm willing to basically do whatever it takes to get on set. Do you want to meet up for coffee? And so a couple people took me up on those opportunities, and then your network just keeps growing and growing.
Yeah, very cool. Are you still in touch with those people today?
Yeah, absolutely. They're all still very involved in the local scene, and then even in further ones. And I just keep applying that same mentality to like Instagram and stuff. As soon as I see somebody doing something I like and I think it's cool, and then I reach out to them and I say, hey, this is awesome. Do you want to link up sometime? And so...
Yeah, that's dope. Are you still when it comes to the Society of Independent Filmmaking,
Mm-hmm.
what's their role when it comes to like what's going on here in Kelowna?
Yeah, it's had a pretty interesting history.
Okay.
It's just a nonprofit. Kelly Veltri has pretty much been taking it on for the past 10 years, one of the owners at the Film Factory. And OSIF throws festivals. So we have Indie Fest that comes around once a year. We have Horror Fest that's been going on for 10 years. And so it gives people an opportunity to make short films and then show them to people,
Right.
rather than just throwing them onto YouTube and only getting 10 views. It's like you can actually get it in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
So that's cool what OSIF does. And then they also have a big gear pool. So they rent out their gear for half off to anybody that's an OSIF member.
Oh.
So yeah, you get like a Sony A7 that's $200, and now all of a sudden it's $100 a day, and you can go make your films. And they even go as far as having a script to screen, so you can pitch them your short film. Come festival season, and they'll pick one that they just give all the gear to for free, give you like $500 for crafty and whatnot, and tell you just to go make a short film for it. So
Right. You want to know a secret?
I do.
Okay, so back in 2013, I actually, with my band, made my very first music video. And ever since then, my friends actually kept telling me like I should join OSIF. So I actually did go onto that website. I actually did apply and became a member for like a year.
Nice. Yeah, it's a great.
It's dope. It's
resource.
really cool. But like, I personally just wasn't like, filmmaking isn't a number one passion for mine. Like I really like doing it, but it's not a number one passion of mine. And so I just sort of like didn't do anything with it, which is unfortunate because they're such a wonderful resource. You know what I mean? But I know of OSIF. I've actually been a part of it for a little bit, but I didn't do anything with it. But no, it's really cool to see. It's also very natural to see that you've been a part of that too.
Yeah, and I hope OSIF does a better job of growing also and bringing in other artists, because that's one of the beautiful things about filmmaking is you have like musicians that can be brought into the circle and painters who can be like working on set deck, and then you have your filmmakers. And so like I said, it's had an up and down history of participation from people, so it'd be nice to see them grow that side of it.
Right. What do you find is your typical role that you usually often play with on film sets and stuff like that?
On the bigger film sets that I've worked on, I've always been a second AC.
Right.
So you're the guy setting up cameras, cleaning lenses, running around for the rest of the camera department to make sure all they're able to do their job successfully.
Right.
And then at the end, you're the guy that holds the slate and yells out scene, 204, take one, marker, and then you hit the slate. And so
Sick.
Yeah, everybody knows that about second ACs, but
Yeah. Very sick. What does marker mean when you hit slate?
It's just like a vocal cue for sound to know that you can basically see that spike in the audio as soon as the clapper hits on camera, and so then you can sync the audio with video in post. And
Okay. Yeah, instead of just clapping
Instead
like
of
a lot of
clapping,
people
yeah,
do.
exactly.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Okay. And what is your ultimate dream when it comes to like being on set? Like, what do you ultimately want to be in charge of, or what role do you want when you're finally like at your peak, I suppose, in your career?
Yeah, I think I'm naturally gravitating towards directing.
Yeah.
And being a director. That's always kind of been the goal.
Right.
And I think that's the goal for most filmmakers when they start making films, and then they get into the industry and they learn, oh, there's producers and there's cinematographers, and so for me, I'm still not 100% sure. Like, I do a lot of my own shooting, and I do really like producing as well, and kind of figuring out the logistics side of getting a project figured out. But I think naturally directing is where I'm gravitating towards.
Right, that makes sense. Since you're working on all these other projects, do you have time to work on your own short films and things like that currently too?
Yeah, definitely. Not without a bunch of help and people pushing me to get them done.
Right.
So I have a coworker named Noah at the Film Factory, Arc Films on Instagram, shout out. And he recently kind of pushed me to get a short film done, and he acted as the producer and basically lined up the whole crew, lined up the cast, and just heard my idea and ran with it. So
Right.
without help like that, right now I'm working on so many things. It's hard to get my own short films done, but
Yeah.
with somebody like him who's willing to do that and push me, then you do get something out there at the end of the day.
Right. I interviewed TMS Productions, and those guys
Yeah.
are more of a YouTube based production crew or filmmakers, right? But you seem to be more of a traditional sort of film type angle. Would you say that's about accurate?
Yeah, I think so. And it's not by design by any means. It's just by the opportunities that I've been given and my skill set at the time.
Right.
I've heard of TMS and I've seen a lot of their stuff, and they're doing like wicked stuff.
Those guys are so sick.
So talented, man.
Yeah.
I saw that Sam Colder video they did.
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
part
yeah.
in the van where like the helicopter, it's supposed to be a helicopter, was just so funny. And so
Yeah.
I reached out to those guys. I was like, yo, you guys are doing some really cool stuff. And
Yeah.
I didn't really do that kind of stuff right away, or at least if I did do anything, I didn't really post it.
Right.
So all my main experience has been working as a crew member on film sets and kind of carrying around C-stands, cleaning lenses,
Yeah.
doing all the nitty gritty stuff. So
Right. Today is like a very like this era of technology that we're in is so interesting, because filmmaking used to be such a expensive and time intensive endeavor, which it still is. It's very time intensive, but not as much as before, right? Like before we had like actual tape that we used to film on and record the audio onto, and now it's all digital, right? With like SD cards and just whatever. So do you think that do you see yourself eventually like moving on to YouTube at all for your directorial sort of venture that you want to take?
yeah, it's a good question. I personally, like, for the directorial career path that I'd want to go to,
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be wherever the money's at, honestly.
Right.
Wherever you're able to get that funding to make a film and then be able to distribute it and have it be a successful project. YouTube is starting to put out, like, it looks like TV shows and probably feature length films,
Right.
but then you also have like outlets like Netflix and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it really depends on where the industry goes in that term.
Yeah.
Definitely for the time being, though, anything I'm working on is usually going on Vimeo or YouTube or Instagram. So
Yeah. That's totally fair. When it comes to like you on Instagram, you're just so like low key, you know, you don't really show like your face too often. It's often the work that you show, which is, commendable, because you obviously, I know you were saying before we actually started doing the microphones, you wanted to let your work speak for itself. And obviously, with your resume that you have so far, you have like really crazy work done already, like Living Machines, Wesley Snipes, and Rare Breed. So that's pretty crazy. But how did you get involved with the Wesley Snipes VR film?
yeah, that's a crazy story, kinda. I had just started working at the Film Factory building that shed, and I was lucky enough that this company called Mind's Eye Productions had decided to make 6 feature-length films in the Okanagan. And so they're based out of Saskatchewan, and Saskatchewan cut their film tax credits, and so they had to basically move their production company out here. And so they were asking around for crew, and I had worked on a couple of commercials at that point as a PA, production assistant. So you'd like take garbage bags out and set up crafty so people can have their food and their coffee, run coffees for people, that sort of thing. And so I got recommended to be a PA on that set. Called The Recall with Wesley Snipes and RJ Mitty. And so I was building the shed in the back of the film factory, and Kelly, who's the go-to first AC, that's like a focus puller on set, kind of the manager of the camera department. He got a call saying that the go-to second AC, see, Kelowna's such a small town, so our crew base is like, you can pretty much only have enough crew for one film at a time.
Right.
Without having to fly people out from Vancouver and Saskatchewan and LA in order to fill all the extra roles if you want to make multiple productions here.
Yeah.
So the go-to second AC who's from Kelowna was down in the US shooting a DJ documentary. So there was just like no second ACs here in the Okanagan or in Kelowna at that time.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, well, I've got this kid here who clearly can work hard, and I've worked on a couple short films as like a camera assistant. So he was just like, do you want to be a second AC now on this set? So I just went from being like a PA to being in the camera department and being a second AC.
Yeah.
And yeah, oh man, I could ramble on about this story for so long.
Keep going.
So then I showed up and we're doing camera prep, and I'm like so nervous. Like I've never really worked with anything other than a DSLR at that point. And I walk into the camera department, and there's all these dudes from LA and Seattle, and they have 3 red dragons all on one tripod head.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, that's crazy. I've never seen that before. And they inform me that we're going to be testing out this technology called Barco. Barco. And so you could walk into a Barco theater, and there'd be 3 screens, and there'd be the one in the middle, and then there'd be 2 that wrap around up the sides of the theater, so that you're like immersed within the film.
Yeah.
And so these cameras were on the tripod head, and basically the one camera in the middle was shooting the middle screen, and then the 2 cameras on the side were shooting the images that were going to come up on the sides of the theater.
Right.
And so this was like part of being in the Okanagan is they were able to test out this brand new technology because you can make a film for much cheaper here.
Yeah.
Due to tax credits and stuff. So they wanted to test out this new technology, and I'm like, great, this is the first feature film I've ever been on. We've got this brand new test going on here. Like, I'm way over my head, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And so we chilled up at Silver Star for a month. I figured out on my way driving over to Silver Star through the radio that Wesley Snipes was going to be the star on this film. And I'm like a huge Marvel fan, so I loved Blade growing up. So I'm just like freaking out, like fist pumping in my car on my way over to set. And so we shot up there for a month in the forest, and it was a gong show, but it was a great learning experience. And due to us doing these camera tests, they also wanted to do a VR test. And so it was actually the first feature film in Canada to have a virtual reality aspect to it.
Whoa.
And they flew this guy out from Seattle named Chris as a Steadicam operator, and he had worked on like a bunch of Macklemore music videos and stuff like that. So I was like super interested to get to know him. And he showed up, and since it's VR, the camera was supposed to be from RJ Mitty's perspective. He's plays the son in Breaking Bad.
Okay.
And so it's supposed to be from his perspective. This Chris dude ended up being like 6'4" or something crazy like that. So then you'd have him, and then you'd put the camera rig on top, and the VR camera would sit on his head. So then it's at like 7 feet at that point or something stupid, and the perspective's all off because RJ Mitty's like 6 foot, let's say. Yeah. And so they're like, this guy's way too tall to operate this camera. Like, what are we gonna do? Yeah. And they just like look over, and they see like me kind of running up a hill with a monitor for the director, like a couple C stands and like camera lenses and backpack, and I'm just like running up this hill to get it to set. And they're like, oh, Jordan looks like he's working hard and can hold a decent amount of weight, or at least hold this VR rig. Yeah. And so they were like, yo, Jordan, do you want to come out on Saturdays and shoot this virtual reality film for us? And so I was just like all I have to do is hold the camera and pretend to be RJ Mitty. And so all of a sudden, just this whirlwind of a first film set, and I'm like like sitting with the actors pretending to be RJ Mitty's character and getting thrown up against a truck by Wesley Snipes, and he's screaming into this camera right above me, and it was a wild experience. Like,
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What was it like meeting Wesley Snipes?
So he showed up on set for only 3 out of the 20 days.
Okay.
So I didn't really get a opportunity to like chat with him all that much or really get to know him, but he was like a super respectful dude. He showed up on set like as obviously the star, so there's like a certain amount of like, I don't know, authority that comes with that.
Yeah.
But he still took it out of his time, out of his day, to go and shake the hands of every single crew member, introduce himself. We got like a funny story because he came up and he shook my hand, and I was just like, "My name's Jordan." He goes, "Big Jordan, nice to meet you, my man." And so everybody called me Big Jordan after that, even though I'm like the skinniest dude on set. So,
Oh, that's so funny.
he was wicked. I mean, he had a couple cool stories to tell as well, but.
Damn, that's insane.
Yeah.
By the way, my friend Jesse Nelson actually worked on that. He was second AD.
Yeah, dude, I know Jesse Nelson super well. He worked at Ford when I was working at Subaru, and now we're both in the film industry. So it's just this cool coincidence.
Yeah. And then you obviously know Jesse and the whole Car Bomb cast and like how
Yep.
they do their Extra Life stuff every year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick. I was actually going to be there for like this year's one, but I had to go to India, so I couldn't make it. But
Fair
that
enough.
would have been sick.
Yeah, they do that at the factory as well.
Yeah, I know. They do it in that white room. That white room is like iconic here. And like every time I see like an all white music video, I'm just like, oh, I know what this is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's so sick though. And do you find that like the way that you got into all those like feature films is very much the same that you got involved with like local music videos and stuff like that too, like the Living Machines one? Or like how do you often get those opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I used to just call it luck in a certain sense, but
Okay.
I'm starting to now I kind of believe that luck is when hard work meets opportunity. That's what I like
That's
to
right.
say. So
Yeah.
and I'm sure I've heard that quote from someone. I'm just stealing it now.
I've heard that from Casey Neistat.
Was it Kate? I thought maybe it was Gary Vee, but that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, Gary Vee and Casey are honestly like pretty similar,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So it could have been either or. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just like working hard, and then an opportunity comes up and just say yes to it. And so all my music video stuff, I mean, like I said, my dad was wanting to be a rock star drummer and still is a rock star drummer, you know?
Yeah.
But so I always loved music and music videos in particular. So I just tried my hardest to meet as many people who were making music and needed music videos.
Right. That makes a lot of sense, man.
Yeah.
That's so sick. Yeah, that's so sick. Okay, and speaking of going, I just want to go back into like Gary Vee and stuff like that, right? So clearly, he's huge on YouTube, huge on Instagram, like social media. He like kills that game. Who would you say are your influences out of YouTube that you really look up to, if you have any?
Yeah. I mean, all my YouTube stuff is like the Joe Rogan podcast or Gary Vee.
Yeah.
So just more like informational stuff.
Right.
Like I really like listening to interviews and kind of picking out what I hear a lot of the same of. So
Yeah.
if I hear something said like 3 times by multiple different successful people, like I make a note of it.
Right.
I'm like, okay, clearly there's something there. So like Hollywood Roundtable, for example, they every year around the Oscars they bring in like a producers panel, and you'll have people like Seth Rogen and Ridley Scott and all that, and they talk about their experiences. So a lot of that stuff. I mean, and then just the basic like Sam Colder and Peter McKinnon, just for inspiration and to see what those guys are up to, because they're obviously kind of on the forefront of that, and Casey Neistat as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. All my YouTube stuff is like finding music videos.
Yeah.
Right? Like I just
Yeah.
always look at what the newest music video is. And so in terms of that, like guys like Tyler, the Creator, is super inspiring. Travis Scott right now is super inspiring.
Dude, he's killing it with
Killing it,
Astro
man,
World.
yeah.
Killing it.
It's just such a unique idea. And like the Gorillaz also growing up, like
Yeah.
I loved that concept of like creating your own world within a music world.
Yeah.
And so to see that on this scale now with like visual albums coming out and Astro World, like it's so dope. So
Yeah. What are your favorite music videos?
oh man, that'd be so hard to pick.
Like, pick like maybe top 3 of this year.
Yeah. I mean, Shoulder Bag by Rare Breed, #1 for sure.
Just putting that plug in there real quick.
But I don't know, maybe like, ASAP Rocky has been killing it with his music videos. So
he just put out one.
Yeah, ASAP Forever, when that first came out, that was like my favorite music video at the time. So that's got to be on there.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. It's so tough. There's so many good ones that come to mind.
Yeah.
I like a lot of the music videos that have like a storyline to it, or like some cinematic kind of story you can be attached to. So
right.
I'm sure there's one out there that I, if you were to say it, I'd be like, yeah, that's it. But
yeah. Do you remember when Yonkers came out back a few years ago?
Yeah,
Tyler, the Creator?
For sure.
Dude, how insane was that? Like, that just like changed so much.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to see where he's at now also.
Yeah.
From like that growth.
Yeah, it kind of almost like seemed like he went from like this very opposite of what his character actually is to like fully blossoming into this like very artsy, very like, I'm into flowers and bees and wearing pink and stuff like that. Like, that's sick. I honestly, like, a lot of people that I know think that older Tyler, the Creator, like Goblin era and Bastard is like the way to be. Like, they thought that was the best kind of shit. But I personally think that like Flower Boy and like Cherry Bomb and like that stuff, I think that's way better than anything he's done before. I think it's sick.
Yeah, to me it just seems like he's grown up and he's evolved, and I think we can all relate to that. It's like you're a different person when you're 18 to when you're 23 or 25 or 30. So
yeah,
that's what his transformation has been to me.
Yeah, I think it's important for artists to evolve like that. I start to lose interest when artists stay the same for a bit too long, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. You see that in actors and things too. Like Jonah Hill, he's really like grown.
Yeah, dude.
Like, man, it's crazy. Right in front of the world. He went from like, you know, he went from like super bad
Yeah.
to mid 90s. Like,
I know. It's
so sick.
I haven't seen mid 90s yet, but I can already tell it's going to be one of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
You know, it just seems like he's so passionate about it.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool also is he's talking about how he's a big hip hop fan and stuff growing up. And so he's not doing all of his, you know, movie promotion on like or at least I don't know, but Entertainment, it seems like he's going on to radio shows and doing his promotions.
He was on like the Breakfast Club promoting it. He was like in like hip hop alleys mostly. He was like, it was almost like he was promoting like an album drop.
Yeah.
You know?
For
it was
sure.
crazy.
I know. I'm waiting for him to go on the No Jumper podcast and promote the film.
Yeah. At this point, though, the film is out of theaters now. So, which sucks. I wish I could have seen it, but by the time I came back from India, it was already gone. So it's like, shit.
Yeah.
You know? Damn, I have to wait. Apparently, January 19th is the release date for home release.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be on Netflix also.
Yeah. I hope so. Man, that would generate a lot of cash for everybody involved.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, by the way, I just want to go back to like my personal favorite music videos.
For sure.
2016 would have been Nike's by Frank Ocean. I just loved the visuals. It was so raw and it was just so visceral. Just everything that you got. Like a lot of music videos portray sex in very much the same way, and it's like very surface level, but the way that like Frank Ocean had that music video just so close up to everything. He had like, it was just so raw and visceral. It was like, he did a really great job at portraying emotion in that. And then the next one, 2017, my favorite music video then was Magnolia by Playboi Carti.
Okay.
Such a sick music video. It's like all of these different techniques that they used in that video to like show transitions and all these different effects that they had. It was just like, it was peak for me. Like when I saw the music video, it coupled with the song perfectly. And Magnolia, the song is amazing. Like the way that the beat sounds and everything, just like, it just sounds so psychedelic. And it's just like, it's like my walls are melting, and that music video just captured that so well. It was crazy. Oh my god. And you know how like in music videos they'll often have the title just play at the beginning, but Magnolia had it play like in the middle of the song. It's like just Magnolia flashing in big white letters, and man, I was just like, that's genius. It's so genius. It just seems so like confident, you know what I mean? Amazing. I love that shit. That to me is so good. I don't think I've gotten a favorite of 2018 yet, but yeah. How's 2018 been for you though?
Good, man. My role at the film factory and with Rare Breed has grown a lot.
Yeah.
So I haven't been doing many of the feature films that have come into town. Which is kind of unfortunate. It's always fun to be able to tell stories and show like behind the scenes videos and stuff like that of all the crazy film stuff that goes on. But it's encouraged me to be almost more entrepreneurial and like build my own brand and like who I am as an artist more.
Yeah.
So I don't even know where to start. 2018's been a crazy year.
Yeah. Tell me, man.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
let
like,
us know.
I guess I'm trying to think. I guess at the beginning of 2018, I did Daughter of the Wolf in January. So that was a feature film with Gina Carano.
Okay.
She's like a MMA fighter or used to be an MMA fighter. And she's in like
sick.
Deadpool.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, she's the girl that like does the superhero landing in Deadpool and like punches the one dude in the dick.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sick.
I don't know if you remember that scene or not, but
Yeah, first Deadpool, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen her do that.
What's her name
yeah.
in that? Duchess or something, maybe.
I don't remember. I don't
know.
Yeah.
She was cool though to work with, and we were up in like we were up in the mountains just shooting in the snow, and they brought all these live wolves on set for that one. So for a month, like, you know, you're working with these wolf trainers who are pretty much like werewolves in my opinion. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if those dudes howled the moon into wolves themselves.
What was that like?
It was cool, man, just to like, there's all these like procedures and whatnot that you have to follow along in order to be around these wolves. Like, you're not allowed food on set, and when they are bringing them on, everybody has to like stand still, and there's always as little people as possible on set when they're working. But they had like maybe 12 wolves, all ranging in size and stature, and there was this one called Kane, which was like, I can't even remember how much he weighed. He was like 3 of me or something like that. Like, he was like, I don't even know, something crazy. But seeing an animal like that so up close that's meant to be wild, you know, is just like, I don't know, it's unexplainable. Like, there's just so much. I can't even explain it. Like,
oh my god!
Yeah, it was just, you just get to see these animals like, and they're in their natural environment in a sense, and they're supposed to act like wild wolves and whatnot, but then luckily you have these wolf trainers around that kind of keep them under control, and then there's all these safety procedures put in place to work with them. But I mean, like, wolves were always my favorite animal growing up, so for me it was just so cool to see them like run and just how powerful they were.
What's it like seeing that, given that we've all obviously seen dogs, domesticated dogs for like years? What was it like seeing a wolf just like do that comparatively?
Yeah, the wolf was definitely, I mean, I'm no biologist or anything like that, so I don't know. Neither, I mean, the wolf was just like, it was a predator. Like, you could tell just the way that it stalked and it moved and ran. It was just so much lean muscle to it. Then it hasn't been like sitting at home and eating table scraps for forever. You know, it's eating like actual wild elk and shit like that. And so, but at the same time, like there was this other wolf that they had that like the guy has trained it since it was a pup, and he can take it to like dog parks.
Jesus.
Yeah, so it was cool, man.
God.
I mean, there's so much cool stuff that you get to be involved with by even being a crew member on movies like that. Like, we flip cars and explode them, and there's dudes jumping off of like mountains and snowmobiles in that film. Like, just wild stuff.
And that was the beginning of year 2018, huh?
Yeah, that was January 2018.
Oh, that's so sick. Damn, that's so sick. Okay. Moving on. Next part of 2018.
Next part of 2018. I mean, there's always so much stuff going on at the film factory that like it's just kind of project to project for me at this point. Like,
right.
I did a lot of wine club stuff, and so like meeting winemakers around here in the Okanagan was really cool, and learning about that industry and interviewing them.
Yeah.
So that was cool. The next thing that pops into my mind was our first trip down to LA with Rare Breed. And obviously Rare Breed takes up a huge amount of time also. Like, we're constantly shooting and they're constantly making music.
Yo, those guys are so busy.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. So that's almost feels like project to project at a certain point as well. But we hit LA for the first time and met a producer down there and a manager that the boys are working with. And so that was kind of a surreal experience, like walking into their house with this huge recording studio in the basement, and there's like, you know, plaques on the wall with like Ice Cube and Tupac. Ooh. And like it was pretty funny. I like pointed out the Pokemon 1 soundtrack in the back. I was like, yo, you worked on Pokemon 1? He's like, what the fuck? He's like, I guess. That's what I noticed.
God, that's so funny. Always be you, Jordan. Yes. Always be you.
So I thought that was so that was such a cool experience going down there for the first time. And just it was the first time, like, we all knew each other in high school, but it was the first time that we all kind of stayed in the same place and really got to like bond over what we were doing. It felt like, for me at least. So that was dope. And then summer came around. Like, this summer was really all, from that moment on to the last LA trip, it was pretty much all Rare Breed for me this summer, just from Center of Gravity to the shows they were doing and the music videos we were making and planning. And so they hit Center of Gravity and did some night shows at Sapphire afterwards, which was dope. And then we hit LA again in September there and shot the Shoulder Bag music video, which was a trip on its own.
Yo, that Shoulder Bag video got so many views.
Yeah.
Man, that, like, crazy. That's so fucking crazy. How did you, wait, you know what? How did you get involved with Rare Breed in the first place?
Same thing as what we were talking about at the beginning. I was just trying to figure out who was doing shit in town, and For You popped up on my feed just through knowing the guys at OKM and whatnot. Yeah. Well, actually, crazy story is one of my first ever film gigs was shooting OKM's grade 12 fashion show.
Okay.
When my sister was graduating, so back in 2013.
Right.
And Cameron Ambrosio happened to be the host of that fashion show. Oh. And so I was up there filming, and he was like, he was really acting at that point and almost putting on like a theater performance, but he was just like walking you through this almost like Bill and Ted style thing. And I was like, dude, this guy is crazy talented, like, and just kind of made a note in the back of my head that he was a talented dude like that. And I actually started working with Diaz first out of that, because he came up and he rapped, and I was like, oh, maybe this guy wants a music video. And so that's what really started my hip hop kind of music video stuff locally. Right. But so that was the first time I saw Cam do stuff. And then when I heard that he was making music, I took a listen, and then I knew Jordan Ambrosio and Ryan Samare from B&A, because I'm a big craft beer fan. So I was always going there and trying out the beers and stuff. So I just reached out to them, and I was like, hey, I've got all this stuff at the Film Factory going on, and like I have some experience with like filmmaking and whatnot. Maybe I can help you guys out. And so we met for a beer over at Central. They thought I was gonna like be like, yeah, Film Factory is gonna cost this much, and cam rentals are gonna cost this much. But I was really just like, no, I want to help. Like, I just want to help you guys out and support you doing your thing. And so our relationship just kind of grew from there. I started shooting photos for them at shows whenever Booter couldn't show up. Brandon Boot, who's an amazing photographer as well. And yeah, our relationship just kind of grew from there. Oh,
I see. Very cool. Yeah, no, like I was looking at your timeline, and it was very much like, here's one project, here's a different project, here's a picture of me every so often, and then boom, just a giant block of Rare Breed stuff. And I was like, wow, this guy's like really, really invested. And it just seems really cool, because those guys seem to be like really blowing up right now. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, those guys just constantly seem to be going to LA at this point. They're constantly just going back and forth. I saw them perform live at the Tion Gibbs show. You were there, obviously. Yeah. Right? Yeah. No, that was a fun show. That was an
amazing show. Yeah.
Yeah. They played what was the song? Nowhere. They played Nowhere. Yep. That's my favorite Rare Breed song. Yeah, cool. It's a good song, man.
Yeah, that was the first music video we shot in LA also. Was
really?
Nowhere, so
it's appropriate. It's like very much like that LA vibe. Yeah. That's friggin' cool. That's super sick.
Yeah, no, and I think I did get super invested in Rare Breed right off the bat, because it's nice. I think at the time I was looking for just a creative outlet, and so I was just looking for a group of people that I could just like do shit with. Mm-hmm. And they had that model of releasing a song like every 2 weeks, and then Jordan Ambrosio was like, I want to release a vlog once a week, and so we want to get photos every week. And I was like, cool, these guys are just like giving me that opportunity to be creative and constantly work on my craft. And so I think that's why I got so invested so quickly, is that they were just always doing something, and I had the opportunity to be a part of that.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, that's good. That's really good, man. And like it allows you to flex your talents and also grow from it as well, because I'm sure with every single gig that you get from those guys, it allows you to learn something new and it creates a new opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And it's amazing when you link up with a crew like that. I feel like the projects we're working on are only going to get better and better because we, grow closer and closer and feel more comfortable criticizing each other in certain sense also, and pushing each other to be better and being like bouncing ideas off each other. It's just that trust is there now. So
right, that's important too, because you don't in a creative team, you don't want to have like an echo chamber that just says the same shit over and over, and it just doesn't have it doesn't become sensible, right? Like to have like an actual group of people that are able to constructively criticize each other, I think is important, because it takes away from the fluff, it just allows them to be like a lean working machine,
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. At this point, it seems like you're eventually just going to become a member of Rare Breed too.
I pretty much am at this point. I think I'm in the 7, so.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Damn, those guys have so many members in their team now too.
Yeah, there's lots of us for sure.
Yeah, it's sick. I really want to get those guys here. I haven't hit them up just yet. You're actually the first actual interview that I've done since I've gotten back from India. I just recovered from bronchitis, and so I'm just trying to like get my health back in check and get my sort of like schedule back in order. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Readjusting to life has been a little nuts for me over this last week or so. So yeah. But in terms of like future plans, what do you have coming up? Do you have any particular plans coming up for like the end of 2018 or like the ongoing thing in 2019?
Yeah, I want to, so I have a short film that's in pre-production right now, that I'm hoping to put a bow tie on and release pretty soon.
Right.
So working on that. I want to get another short film done before the end of 2018, so shoot here in December. So I'm working on that. And then just through more crazy opportunities, I had the opportunity to act at the beginning of one of the films that came into town here.
Oh, very cool.
And so that was just a cool opportunity. I wasn't expecting to be handed to me. So I'd like to get in front of the camera and just give a shot at some acting stuff as well. So
right.
And a lot of writing. Like I'm trying to write a lot more
Scripts.
Scripts, and just get like through even just a story a day, whether it be a paragraph or whatever. Like I'm just trying to do that more.
Yeah. What are your genres that you write in your short films now?
Yeah.
Do they vary, or are they very much the same style?
They always end up being the same style, and I think it needs a lot of work on, because I've always been attracted to like superhero films and whatnot, but
Right.
also kind of like old crime films.
Okay.
So like Guy Ritchie, like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch, and then like any Martin Scorsese film you can imagine. Christopher Nolan, like some of his early work.
Yeah, classic.
And Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, yeah.
So like what's crazy is they all have like their unique voice, and I think I need to work on mine, and that's why I'm trying to write so much. But just due to budget and what's possible to shoot right now, I'm trying to hand it like some kind of crime comedy stuff similar to what Guy Ritchie had going on.
Yeah, that's fair, man. Yeah. That's totally fair. And do you see yourself like eventually creating, like, what is your dream project that you have?
Oh yeah, no, I've got a dream project for sure that stems from my days as a mechanic, and so yeah, I mean, it's a big goal, and so I try not to say it until it's possible.
Right.
But essentially, it's like I always describe it as if Fast and Furious met a Quentin Tarantino film, like a Quentin Tarantino directed Fast and Furious.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
And you'd only get one of them. There's not going to be 10. So that's the goal.
Okay, sounds sick.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Do you have any particular like date that you want to have that done by, or when you want to plan like start working on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always working on it, like, but it's too hard to say. Like, you hear Jonah Hill talking about mid-90s, like that was 3 years of rewrites on the script, and
True.
so that's probably like the idea being in his head for almost 10 years maybe, or 5 years. So it's hard to say. Like, I don't want to put a date on it necessarily.
Right.
But saying that, like, as soon as possible, you know, like as soon as the opportunities are there, and then I'm gonna try and take them. So
Right. Okay. Fair. What is your favorite movie of all time?
yeah, I had a feeling that was going to be asked, and I don't fully know. I mean, whenever that question gets asked to me, I always pick the film that made me decide to quit my job at Subaru and be like, "You're just going to do filmmaking,"
Right?
And it made me be like, "Oh, I want to make a movie like this one day." And that was the first Guardians of the Galaxy. Seeing that in theaters, I was just like, I was entertained the whole way through. Like, there's action, there's comedy, there's drama, there's just everything there for me, and so I was like, if one day I can make a film like that, then I'm going to say I've made it,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The thing about movies like that is they need to be compelling stories, right? Like visuals is one thing, the gear is one thing, like everything is one thing, but story is the most compelling piece of anything, whether it be a photo, whether it be a song, whether it be like a music video or a full feature length movie. The story is what draws people in and leaves them at the end going like, wow, that was amazing. So I think that I'm confident in you, man. Like if you can like get your story writing like on point, I feel like you got it, man.
Yeah, I hope so, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's why I'm working on it, because I agree, story is king at the end of the day. You can look at some projects and they'll be shot on Sony Handycams or GoPros, and if the story's there, it doesn't matter. Obviously, like, cinematography is important, and it's such a huge part of the filmmaking process. And when you have guys like Chivo making The Revenant, well, then obviously, like, that's what you should strive for if you can.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, story's king, and like it has to be written on a script and have it down on paper first.
Yeah, exactly. Like for me, like my favorite films are the ones that have the most compelling stories. You know what I mean? Like The Wolf of Wall Street. Just every time I see that film, my palms get sweaty and my eyes just like go right into the screen. It's like my living room doesn't exist anymore, and I'm just like, oh my god, I get so hyped on that movie.
Yeah, dude, that's such a good film. You could turn that on and just watch it back to back.
Yeah, it's like I've never done drugs before, but I feel like that's what cocaine is like when I watch that film.
Probably.
Like, it's so insane.
Yeah,
I just love that film. And to know that it's like based on a real life thing, a real life story, it's just mind blowing. Like, man, what a life.
Yeah, and yet again, the acting on that is just so unreal, from Leonardo DiCaprio, Jonah Hill. Like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. You believe that they're those characters.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah.
And like Jonah Hill with those teeth, like you totally believe what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Man, it's so wild. I just love that shit.
Yeah.
It's so sick.
Yeah,
It's
I
so
can
crazy.
imagine. And that's what's so funny to me about filmmaking, is like you never have a job where you just get 100 people into like an office building like that, and they're all just like, they're like partying, and they're probably doing like, there's probably people actually doing coke on set just to get involved with that stuff. So
You think so?
oh yeah, I'm sure. Maybe it's not like open and like, it's not like there's a bowl of cocaine at Crafty or anything like that, but there's somebody out there in the extras like just wiling out.
Yeah. Totally. Man, actors can be like a really like different breed of people, like when you see Joe Rogan talk about actors, it's almost like they're like aliens, like,
yeah,
it's weird.
It's the one issue I have with Joe Rogan, actually, is the way he talks about actors. And because I disagree. He's lots of time he goes and says that it's either like a mental illness that they've taken advantage of, or that it's like a cry for attention that they just want, and they figure out a way that attention can then be a job for them and make them tons of money. And I just disagree. Like, I've worked with like I hate name dropping and shit like that, but I've worked with Wesley Snipes, Nicolas Cage, Christina Ricci, John Cusack, RJ Mitty, and then like tons of others that are on the come up and stuff like that. And they've all been such genuine, humble people.
Yeah.
And like not attention seeking in the slightest.
Yeah.
Well, at least the ones I've worked with.
Yeah, Jesse Nelson said the same thing. Like, he's told me about the stories that he's had of working with different actors and actresses, and yeah, they all seem to be very generous and humble people.
Yeah.
But then again, though, that's just sort of like seeing them on a professional side of things, right?
For sure.
Like, I'm sure Joe has had a lot more experience with knowing them on a more personal level, with where like it's not a professional sort of setting. But then again, though, you
and he lives in LA also, so it's like even in my very small amount of time spent around in LA and going to like those networking scenes is like, yeah, people are for sure full of themselves down there. Like,
Yeah.
there's definitely some kind of LA vibe where it's like you have to talk the talk more than walk the walk, it seems like.
Yeah.
Which but so maybe that he's coming from a different perspective than I am as well. So, but
Sure.
yeah, no, all actors are so different and they all have their own unique process. But in my experience, they've all been great people.
Yeah, totally. And I've just through like going to concerts and stuff, I've met a few like people, and like artists, like the musicians that I've met, they all seem like really chill people too.
Yeah.
Like it's awesome. Like, man, it's such a wonderful world that we live in, that we have such crazy characters that just happen to roam around the earth like that. It's
For sure,
Like,
yeah.
it's wild, so wild. But oh yeah, I wanted to ask you. Favorite gear. What's your favorite gear that you've worked with or that you own?
Yeah. Shockingly, I'm not much of a gearhead, even though I run like a lot of the gear rentals at the film factory.
Okay.
So favorite gear, I mean, for me, it's always been like lenses.
Right.
I really like learning about lenses and figuring out which ones give certain looks and lighting as well.
Yeah.
So I really like any LED that you can just throw a battery on and kind of, take out into the middle of the woods or whatever and work with, or just be out on the street. So any sort of cool lights, like there's these RE Sky panels that I don't own, the film factory doesn't own, but I've seen them on set. I think they're like $25,000 a piece or something crazy like that. But you can program in like lightning effects, so it looks like there's lightning coming through a window. You can like program in like a fire effect, so now all of a sudden it looks like there's this fire kind of like off camera, or you can even just like put in whatever color you want and just like adjust that on set. And so those lights just give you so much flexibility that I wish I could afford one. But
Yeah, that's insane. Yo, technology nowadays is nuts.
yeah, it's getting stupid.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy.
It's amazing. I can't even imagine. Like, I've never been on a film set before, but I can't even imagine what it'd be like to be on the set of like a Spider-Man movie or an Avengers movie like whatever. Like, oh man,
There's so many dollars floating around on a set like that. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh, Jesse was actually telling me about how on a film set, though, there's so much bureaucracy, right? Like let's say, for example, there's like a mess, right? Like somebody spilled something and there needs to be somebody there to clean it up. Nobody in the crew can clean it up. And there has to be somebody that's like paid to actually do it, to go do that, because otherwise, like that person, that's what their job is, right? If you were to clean that up, then they'd be like, yo, that's my job, what the hell are you doing, right? Like,
yeah.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think in theory that's kind of correct. Like that's kind of what you're taught, but then at the same time, it's like people are individuals. So you see somebody struggling with a bunch of C-stands or whatever, and just because you're not in the grip department doesn't mean if you're about to go have a coffee, well shit, I can go help that guy out. And I think at the end of the day, especially on like some of the smaller films we're working on, like here in the Okanagan, they're not $50 million budgets like in Hollywood. They're like $8 million, which is still a lot of money, but at the end of the day, it's a closer knit crew. And I think over these 6 films that Mind's Eye's been making, we've all gotten to know each other a lot more, and so there is more like, oh, we're all on the same team. Let's get this done together. But in theory, it's like, yeah, you kind of are taught stick to your department and do your job and your job alone, because at that point you're specialized, and sometimes that's what you're being hired to do on a film set, is you're supposed to be specialized and the best at that specific job, so that you can all come together and create the director's vision.
Totally.
So, yeah, it's interesting. I think it's got some grounds in it. Like it makes sense to be like, just stick to your job. That's the most efficient way possible. But at the end of the day, there's rules, exceptions to the rule, where it's like you can help out. Nobody's going to yell at you for helping somebody else out or carrying a sandbag when you're not supposed to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It also stems from like with camera departments specifically, it's like you don't come to the camera cart and start touching the camera gear, because
No, of course.
all of a sudden you need that piece of gear, you need that like one little extension for some part of the camera, and you can't find it anymore. And then like every second that you're wasting on set is costing money. So
Yeah, exactly.
That's part of it as well. Is it's like, don't touch it because somebody might have left it there on purpose.
Exactly. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. What is the like technology that they typically use nowadays on multi-million-dollar film sets? Like when it comes to, say, camera gears, they're probably not using just your run-of-the-mill Canon SLR. They're probably using Red Cinema cameras or Cinema Canon cameras and things like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, definitely on like any of the movies that you're gonna see on Netflix or up on in the theater is, for the most part, I'd say probably 8 out of 10 times shot on either an Arri or a Red.
Okay.
And specifically, like their higher end cameras, so like the Red 8K Helium or like the Arri Alexa and stuff like that.
Yeah. You know who MKBHD is? Marquez Brownlee?
I don't think so.
Oh, he's a technology reviewer, technology channel that I watch on YouTube.
Maybe he had a Joe Rogan podcast, right?
He did.
Okay, I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. You know, all of his videos now are shot with a Red camera.
Really?
Every single one is shot in 8K.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm not
for
surprised.
YouTube.
Yeah, that's insane.
Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
But he's got the crispiest channel on all of YouTube. In my opinion, he's got the best technology channel of all of YouTube.
Well, and it's like what you were saying, where gear and stuff earlier is it's becoming more accessible. And even when we were in LA, it was like, around here you see guys on the street running around with Sony A7 IIIs, and like in LA they're running around with like Red Scarlets or Red Epics and whatnot.
Isn't that insane?
It's just the market down there is different than it is up here as well.
Yeah, totally. And like, you know, Casey Neistat sort of brought the vlogging thing from like, oh, I'm just shooting my cell phone to like, yeah, I'm holding a giant full frame SLR camera with me everywhere I go with a Rode mic on top.
Yeah.
You know, and then people are like, okay, Casey, well, I could do it way better than you can. And then you get like Sam Colder, and then you get like Peter McKinnon, and then like it just goes crazy.
Yeah.
You know, competition's a good thing. It can be really, really stressful. But do you think that like the film industry in Kelowna would work? Do you think it'd be beneficial if we included another whole film crew? Or if, like, let's say, for example, there was like another film factory opening up in Kelowna. Obviously it wasn't a film factory, it was a rival company. Do you think that would be beneficial to the film scene in Kelowna or in the Okanagan?
I think generalized, like, yes. Obviously, if the more stuff going on here and the more we can, I mean, the more crew, 100%.
Yeah.
Like that's what's interesting is when you're talking about like bigger crews, you're not necessarily in competition with that whole crew. You're more in competition with the people that are in your specific department.
Right.
So it's, but like you said, competition is good and it can breed people to better themselves. So yes, the crew for sure. More crew would be good for the Okanagan. As if like another studio similar to the Film Factory, I mean, it wouldn't be good for the Film Factory, but probably locally it would be pretty good depending on who's running it.
Right.
Like if somebody's super talented and hopefully nice was running it and really beneficial to the local community like the Film Factory is, then yeah, absolutely something like that would be good.
Right. Yeah, totally. I think so too. You know, when you tell me, oh, in Kelowna, we can only have like one feature film being made at the time in Kelowna, it's like, that kind of sucks because, you know, if we had more people coming in and more film crews to film here, then we would have that much more revenue coming into our city, you know?
Absolutely. It's a catch-22 because you can get on set green, like your first feature film or your first commercial, and get trained here in the Okanagan pretty easily and climb up pretty fast due to the opportunities that are here. But then the work's not necessarily here, so you piece to Vancouver. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, well, the work's not here, but in order to get the work here, you got to stay here. So it's like this really catch-22 that I don't quite know how to solve it. It'll just have to come down to more productions taking chances on the Okanagan and then convincing that crew to stay here.
Yeah, totally. Would you see yourself ever moving to another place for more work or for bigger, like just to get more pay or anything like that? Would you do that?
Vancouver has been on my mind ever since I got into this industry, and you know, I almost consider it daily of like, is Vancouver the move? And personally, I would always like to, I think, live in the Okanagan, and with today's technology, with the internet and whatnot, it's easier to work with people outside of the Okanagan. And so, like, if I could just travel and kind of use the Okanagan as my like home base, my HQ, that would be the goal. But if it does come down to like, you need to be in Vancouver because this is where it's happening and this is where you're at, or you need to be in LA or Toronto or whatever, then I would make that move happily. But the work would have to be there, and the reasoning would have to be like, you have to be here. Like, you can't be in the Okanagan. This isn't going to work. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's actually a lot more viable nowadays than it would have been 10 years ago. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Because, with technology being that much better, with the flights being cheaper, you can actually like make your home base and sell yourself outside of Kelowna. And then if anybody needs you in Toronto, Vancouver, Dubai, you can do that. You can go all the way over there.
Exactly.
And then come back here and live the life that you want to live. It's really wonderful it's really wonderful the time of year that we're at, or the era that we're at. I just love it. And honestly, I'm genuinely so interested in seeing where the world goes in the next 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
20 years ago, the concept of a cell phone that can take you onto the internet was just fucking unfounded, right?
Sure.
And so nowadays, I'm just sort of like, what's going to happen in 20 years from now? And the rate of technology growth is just so exponential that it's just, I just can't wait. I really can't wait. I hope that I live to 120 or 150 just so I can see where technology goes.
Dude, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, like
with you.
legit, if the technology when I'm like 70 is around at the time where you can, put yourself, infuse technology with yourself, like, put your brain into something else to like live longer. I would do that just to see where technology goes.
Totally. Yeah, you're one of the plug me into the matrix guys. I'm good to go.
Yeah, I mean, like, what am I gonna lose here? You know, my whole body, but nah. But I'm legitimately very excited to see where it all goes, and like, I wonder where films go in the next little while. Like where creativity takes everybody. It's just, I think we've never lived in a more exciting time than now.
Totally. I totally agree. And I used to always, I joke about this because in high school, I would sit in like socials 11 and I'd be like, man, nothing I ever lived through is going to like end up in this textbook one day, probably. And now I'm like, 5 years later, I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I could have ever thought. Like everything we're living through right now is going to be in a textbook one day. And people are going to look back on this era like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And so, and that's what's so cool about, filmmaking with technology is like, you didn't have red digital cameras kicking around and you didn't have Sony Ronin S's kicking around, So with technology growing, filmmaking's only going to be enhanced by it, or at least you're just going to have more options. You're going to have more flexibility and more creativity through technology.
Yeah, exactly. I just can't wait. I love it.
Yeah.
It's going to make things that are not it makes things that for people that aren't technology like adept, it'll make it much harder for them to keep moving forward with it. But that just means like it gives people like you and me space to like move ahead then in front of all them, right? Yeah. But it's also a lot easier to learn those technologies. So those people that may find it harder to work with technology, it may make it easier for them to catch up to like you or people that are even doing better. People should never ever settle for less. No. At all. They should always people should strive to do better than what I'm doing. I should strive for, much higher than even what Joe Rogan is doing.
Totally.
Even though like realistically speaking, like, I don't know how possible that is. But hey, I don't think anybody should sell themselves short, including you, man. You should never sell yourself short.
Set your goals high, right? That's what the goal is to win an Oscar at some point. I mean, I don't know if I'll do it.
Yeah.
I believe that I can, or at least I believe I have the potential to. Whether or not I do is a whole nother story. But set your goals high and you're bound to do something cool at least along the way.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And you have no idea where it'll take you. Like in high school, you may have not had any idea that you were going to meet Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, no clue.
He was going to shake your hand and say, "Big Jordan, what's up?"
Exactly.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's so sick. Well, I don't really know if I have very much else to really say. I think I've said everything that I wanted to. Actually, I do have one thing for you. Do you have any questions for me?
I have tons of questions for you, man.
Yeah, shoot.
I mean,
shoot.
When you went to India, I was following along with your Instagram there, and what I thought was so cool was the way that you kind of like described the culture and what you were seeing and experiencing. And to me, that was like almost like taking your job as a podcaster to another level, and like you're almost merging social media with documentary filmmaking with podcasting at that point. And I don't know, I got it right away. I was like, this is something here, and I think you should keep doing it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Because I think that was so dope. And like, especially when I was seeing like that chicken up on the roof there, that was like a water tower or something.
Yeah.
Like those are things that me being here in the Okanagan in the valley, I've never experienced before or seen. And so I was like, this is awesome. Like I want to see more of that kind of stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that. People like you messaged me, actually. You did message me.
Yeah.
I remember this. You were saying like, yo, that's so sick, keep it up. And that, man, I felt like, oh, people are paying attention.
Yeah, dude.
Hell yeah. I appreciate that. And the reason why I started doing that was because I went to New York City, but I just like poof, like straight vanished almost, because I didn't say very much when I left. And so people coming back were saying to me like, yo, like where, like what did you do in New York City? Like we have no idea. And then by that time I was like, oh, well, the time has passed. And so to keep it much more current, I was like, okay, next trip, which is happening in like a few weeks from now, I'm going to totally document everything. And it turned out quite well.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And even how you did the Il Chris interview at backstage at the Black Box, I was like, that's so, like, you don't see Joe Rogan getting out of his podcasting suite and to go do podcasts. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just think there's something there, and I'm interested to see if that's on your horizon as well, to kind of almost be like a traveling podcast in a sense, or at least have that aspect into it where you could go behind stage and interview somebody. Or
well, I really, really love doing it, you know, and it's just so exciting to meet people, you know, like throughout my teenage years. As soon as I got out of high school, I just spent that time. I went to audio engineering school at Okanagan College because my mom was pressuring me so much to go to college and I didn't want to, but I took audio engineering, which was like a awesome thing to do. I'm so happy that I did it. And I spent that time also going to concerts everywhere. And I took the time to always just go backstage and like meet people that I admired, like Tyler, the Creator, or just very recently JPEG Mafia.
Wow.
And so, what I thought was that like stuff that's just so natural to me, like going to concerts and meeting people and stuff like that, I want to take that and put it into something that I'm also trying to get off the ground, which is For the Culture Canada. It just like meshed everything that I knew so well already together. And I really appreciate you liking what I'm doing because it's so thrilling. You know, I love it. It makes me feel really good about what I'm doing. And I want to do that way, way more. It's wonderful. It's just so fulfilling to do that.
Yeah, no, I thought it was so cool, even just hearing him be like, yo, Golden, like, where was I at? And then like Golden coming in and for a little bit. It just had such a natural feel to it. And it was cool.
Yeah, and you know, I actually had a crowd of people watching me while I was doing it. It was so sick. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like voyeurism almost.
Yeah. Did that influence like your questions and whatnot? Because that didn't come across to me like the live audience really affected the podcast in that sense.
No, it didn't really like change anything at all. It was just sort of like I'm performing now, but asking questions and talking to people is just something that, you know, all of us do naturally, and so it doesn't make a difference to me that there's a crowd of people. Also, one thing is that I also worked at Best Buy for like 5 years, right? And so because of that, I had gotten very, very used to having crowds of people listen to what I'm saying. Like, you know, if I'm like at an iPad table and all these people want to know about this one iPad that's on display, then I'll be like, okay, you all want to know about this iPad? They'll be like, yeah. And I'll be like, okay, so this is the iPad here, you know? So I've gotten very, very used to and very comfortable with talking to crowds of people. I actually find that also very thrilling and exhilarating too. So, yeah, no, I actually love it. I want to do that way more, like cool. way, way more. And it's really cool that people want to just pay attention because I don't know, it's just it makes me feel like whatever I'm doing is worth it, you know?
Yeah, you're really good at it, man. So I definitely encourage you to keep going.
Thank you, I appreciate it. If there's like a crowd of people just watching us to our side right here, I'd be just as excited, if not more, for this interview.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
that's very cool. Yeah, I'm definitely not as much of like an in front of crowd people, I find. Like I can do it, but I definitely don't I don't seek it out necessarily. Me personally, I get nervous. Like I'm like, am I actually saying what I want to be saying right now? And
hey, that's fair, man. Lots of people are like that, you know? Lots of people are.
Like,
and
it's weird. I find acting easier than like talking about myself.
Yeah.
Like in the vlogs, like the Rare Breed vlogs, I hate them sometimes when I see myself come on and like have to start talking to the camera because like all of a sudden I have to be like Jordan Powers, and then in another sense I'm like, well, who the hell is that? And so it's so much easier for me to do like acting than it is even something like this. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, you know who you are though? You're Jordan Powers.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's a big name to live up to.
Yeah, it is. But like, dude, you're a very like friendly guy. You're very easy to talk to, and I feel like anybody that saw you on camera, just like if you were just yourself, you know, you don't have to like live up to any name because like who the fuck cares? But you know, you just as you are, you would do great in front of a camera. You know, you're just very personable. You're very you're easygoing, and you have this. there's something magnetic about that, in which that I feel like people want to make it very easy to talk to you, because that's the impression that I got when I saw you at the film factory, when I'm like renting out gear from you. I was just like, that guy was really chill. It's super nice. Like I wouldn't mind like getting a coffee with that guy or sitting down for, lunch or something. You know what I mean? Like it's, there's nothing to be, in my opinion, there's nothing to be afraid of for you to be on camera. Because every time I see you on camera on a Rare Breed vlog, I'm like, oh, that's Jordan. What's up? So yeah, no, it's sick. I think that you should do that more often.
Oh, wicked. I
frankly.
appreciate it. Yeah, I bought this book called The Art of Conversation, which I highly recommend to anybody who may be nervous about like talking to people or going into job interviews and stuff like that. And
yeah,
it's helped me so much, just because it is like an art form that people kind of forgot about. Like you used to have conversationalists that would show up to your dinner party, and you would invite them specifically so you have somebody interesting to talk to back in the day. And that's something that we don't necessarily do anymore.
Yeah,
so
true.
It's a really good book that I recommend people to read, The Art of Conversation.
Very good recommendation, man. Yeah. If I ever got an Amazon affiliate link, I would have put it in the description, but I can't because I don't have one. But yeah, that's sick though. That's very, very cool. Great recommendation, man.
Yeah, no, it's a good book.
Yeah.
Do you read a lot of books, or?
I'm much more of a biography kind of guy. Right. I love reading biographies of people because I love learning personal, I love reading real stories of people. You know, like I've read Anthony Kiedis' Scar Tissue like 5 times. I've read Kurt Cobain's Heavier Than Heaven. Yeah. I've read Steve Jobs' biography. I've read Jimi Hendrix. I've read also... Let me see. I've read and I've read like countless Wikipedia articles on like heroes of mine, like John Frusciante and stuff. And so I just, those are the kind of books that I find most valuable, because I find that the things that they personally learn in their life experience, I take for myself. Like I find that my personality is very much, or at least my mind is created through pieces of everybody else. Like I feel like I'm created from the environment around me, right? So I just naturally find people that inspire me. I want to know what their story is. And that's exactly why I do this podcast, because I want to know people that are doing really cool shit around here. I want to know what their story is. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm just doing stuff that's like very natural and intuitive for me.
No, you strike me as like a kind of a research oriented person as well, and so am I. And The Talks is a good app if you're interested in like biographies and stuff, because it's kind of like a conversation that he has with a journalist, and they just interview some of the most interesting people around.
Sick.
But it's like, yeah, I'm the same way. I'm always reading or researching something and trying to like, learn. I can tell
that you're very much into the whole bettering yourself.
Yeah. My favorite quote is from Werner Herzog on his masterclass online, where he says, "Filmmaking is an art form that will take a lifetime to never master." Yeah, and I just like I don't know, I instantly connected with that. I was like, oh sweet, there is no like end. It's like you can always be better and get better and improve with when it comes to filmmaking and just life in general. So I thought that was kind of cool. It almost like lifted a huge weight off my shoulders. It was like, nice, there is no end. Like I can never be the best.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing with like Casey Neistat. He's not like closer to mastering it than you are. Yeah. And that's the beauty of being in the space that you're at, like filmmaking. You can always do better. Yeah. Which is amazing.
That's so subjective. Like one person might hate Guardians of the Galaxy or think it's a dumb movie or it's just not that good, and then I'm over here being like, that's what made me quit my job at Subaru. So it's like,
yeah, true. And the same, like it's very subjective. Like I thought the Venom movie was trash. Like,
I haven't seen it yet, surprisingly.
And my brother thought it was like decent. Yeah. So I'm just like, nah. So yeah, no, it's totally subjective. Filmmaking can be a very, like, art in itself is just a very subjective thing.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, but the fact that people pay attention to what you're doing, people pay attention to what I'm doing, is what makes it so worth it. You know what I mean? I mean, people create for the sake of creating, but for me, to have people sort of, here's the ego coming involved, but like to have people just sort of like pay attention to it, it gratifies what I'm doing, at least in my personal experience.
Oh yeah. Oh, same. I love hearing people come up and say, "Oh, I saw that video," or "You're a really good videographer." Like it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And so, yeah, it's a really wonderful thing being an artist. It sucks sometimes. It totally sucks, but it's a great thing.
Yeah, it doesn't always help the bank account.
Nope, very much not so. But hey, man, that's the life of an artist, and that's the life we choose to live. And it's better to I find it's like way better to just fall asleep and knowing that you've accomplished what you wanted to accomplish at the end of the day.
For sure. Yeah. Or just applying meaning to something and having something to wake up and get you out of bed every morning is it's nice to have. So
yeah,
that's how I feel about it. Just find meaning, and if that's art, then that's a great passion to pursue.
Yeah, exactly, man. But it was great chatting with you, dude. Like, it was a wonderful
Likewise.
like interview. I think this has been one of the most fun interviews I've had in a long time.
Oh, cool. I'm
Not
glad.
to say that all the other ones that I haven't done aren't fun, but it's great chatting with you.
Yeah, no, I was actually just like going through and listening to all your podcasts before I came on here, and I thought that TMS one was really really good and funny. And those guys, I actually dropped my phone while listening to it and cracked the screens.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh shit!
So
Man.
a
I'm
little
so
side
sorry.
note. Yeah, we'll say it was from laughter. I was laughing so hard I dropped the phone or something.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Do you have any final last words? Plug your social media and like anything that you've been up to, man.
Yeah, I mean, for any of my kind of more personal stuff, I recommend going and checking out at Jordan Powers __ on Instagram. For any of my more corporate kind of professional stuff, you can hit up the Film Factory's social media and websites, and you'll see some of my work there. And then obviously go check out the Rare Breed dudes, a lot of my work and their work, and we're always doing crazy shit. So that's definitely shout out to them. And there's tons of other people I could shout out, but you only got so much time in the day.
There you go. So make sure you check out all of his stuff, because what he's doing is really, really cool. And he's so busy. I'm just so thankful that this guy was able to like come onto my show and talk about what he needed to talk about, because man, I've been wanting to know for a while now. So anyway, thanks again, Jordan. I appreciate you being here, and thank you to everybody that's been listening, because I really appreciate your time and your attention, because that means so much to me, because without that, this podcast would be still ongoing, but I just love seeing your feedback. And where you can give me your feedback is dropping a comment on all the posts that I make on Instagram. Make sure that you follow Jordan. Make sure you follow us on like Instagram, Facebook at For the Culture Canada. Also, if you listen to us on the Apple Podcasts app, it would help us so much if you rated us 5 stars, and if you left a comment saying what you thought of the show, what you think of the episodes, who your favorite was, and everything like that. We would love to know. And if you have any suggestions on how we can make the show better, let us know, because you know what? It's always a game of improvement, and I always want to do better for you, okay? So thank you so much for listening. I'm your host, Deepak Batty, and have a great day, y'all.